This is Gilbert Gottfried, and I'm here with my co-host Frank Santopadre, and this is Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsessions. And our guest today is a composer, a model.
He's a hand model, too.
Hand model.
A dermatologist.
He is.
And composer.
A circus geek.
Adam Dorn.
Hey.
Adam.
Yes, Frank.
We'd love to have
Hey,
podcast
before we
superfans.
talk to Adam,
Yes.
when we were talking bad werewolf films,
Yeah.
did we mention Werewolf of Washington?
We did not. Is that the Dean Stockwell one?
Dean Stockwell.
You know, I didn't put it on the list because some people consider it halfway decent.
Well, they're fucking idiots.
Those fucking people. Yes.
Yeah, also, we hate to get political
Yes.
on this show. We get so much blowback.
Oh, yeah.
God forbid we say something about the fascist in chief.
Oh,
but,
boy.
Yes, you know, when you're selecting those films, you're just mindful of time.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't put everything on the list,
Yeah.
and I had to make room for Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory.
That's right. Because that was the guinea one.
Yeah, and what was that? What's the one with Cheney? Is it the face of the screaming
Oh,
Werewolf?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We had Raybone in here for those.
It
And
had about, well, don't bring him back in.
he's right there. I'm looking at him through the glass.
We only have a week and a half to get the answer.
Yeah.
But
And
you know, just to speak well of Adam also listens to the mini episodes.
Everything.
He
Really?
paid for Stitcher.
Yes.
He cares, Gilbert.
Honestly, I want to, before we go into this, I do want to say I really do care, and I don't take this podcast is like, the fans don't take it for granted. They really,
That's nice.
No.
Gilbert does.
Yeah, well, but I have to, no, seriously, like
Yes.
my father-in-law was very ill last year, and
sorry.
like, honestly, like for about 4 months, we just would listen every week to whatever episode came out, and I have to say, we may have listened to the Pat Cooper episode 11 or 12 times. It might be the funniest thing. It's the best episode.
Yeah, you like vitriol.
Yeah, yeah.
That episode drew, you know.
Yeah, he was not angry enough.
Yeah, chase some people
I
away.
just love it. He's like, another fucking bargain. You know, he's another bargain. Yeah, another dude, Jack Jones, right? Another bargain. Who was it that he was opening up for someone and they wouldn't acknowledge him, so he interrupted their show and he said, I've been opening up for you for 3 fucking weeks. You can't say hi to me. Who was that? Who did he interrupt?
I don't know, but it's
guys,
great. I'll go back and
Why
listen
hasn't
to
he
it.
been back on? Okay, I know. I was a friar. I know what
sort
Pat's
of.
like.
I think we sort of shot all our bullets there. Don't
Yeah,
you think?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one note.
And what's so weird to think there is he, for a little while, was in a comedy team
Amazing.
with Jackie Mason.
The thought of it. Yeah, bitter, and more bitter.
Yes.
That's what they called
Really
themselves.
fucking
Yeah,
Yeah.
those must have been charming too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. Blood and bile.
Yeah.
Bile and phlegm. Mason is he's even a bridge too far.
Yeah.
After
Well, my
we
old
would have
man-
done Jack Carter, we would have done Pat Cooper,
Right.
but
No.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Your dad had experiences with
and they
Jackie
weren't
Mason.
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
he was really kind of a prick. So yeah, I'll just keep it at that.
Before
I guess.
you rave about us, I'm
Oh
gonna.
yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, no, I'm done.
I'm gonna.
Well, one more thing. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
There is one more thing that's very fucking important. You hold a position on something that I couldn't agree with more.
He's looking at Gilbert.
Ferris Bueller is a fucking prick. And when
Thank you.
you started that
you've redeemed
episode off
yourself.
that way, no, I almost jumped. I was driving. I almost jumped out of my car. Like, well, I was a kid. That movie was made for like my generation, and I
Yeah.
saw it.
What
and
year
I
were you
hated
born?
It. I'm 70.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I'm 47, and yeah,
your generation.
I
prick.
fucking hated that
he was mean
movie.
to his friend. He got his friend in trouble. He's, Jeffrey
Lied to his
Jones
parents.
Lied to his parents. He got a principal fired. It was just like,
and the principal, he's the bad guy because he's doing his
job.
fucking job.
Exactly.
It's
so
like,
annoying.
it's like he should be a good guy and let this guy play hooky every fucking day and not care about the student who's not going to school.
Well, listen.
Way to suck up, Adam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, come on. But no, I agree.
Yeah.
I
no.
agree. And that you led off the episode with that.
That's balls.
He was.
Yes.
But to his credit, what a great episode, and what a great.
He has a sense of humor.
He's he's very nice about it. But boy, because the guy's a prick. I don't mean.
No, I get it. You think he's a prick? I only have 20 more minutes.
I don't mean Ferris Bueller.
Oh, you mean?
No, you don't.
I mean Matthew.
Yes. No, you don't. He's a gentleman.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, he's very nice.
Absolutely slumming by doing this show.
Yeah.
Adam is a musician, a producer, a composer. He's not just a Gilbert Gottfried podcast superfan. He does a million cool
and
things.
He's a dental hygienist.
He does everything. He's composed music for Better Call Saul, Disney's Meet the Robinsons, The Devil Wears Prada. You've seen some of these things. The Pink Panther, The Bourne Supremacy.
Yes.
All have used his music. And even the podcast Serial.
Yeah, the current season.
The mega podcast Serial. We dream of having serials.
Ira Glass called me to do it.
He did?
A former guest, so there's a connection there.
A mutual friend of Ira's.
Yeah.
How does one go about composing music for a podcast even?
That's a really good question because there's nothing to look at. So basically, I'm a huge fan of that show. And what I really kind of set out to do was just ask them a bunch of questions about what sort of the arc of the show was in the season. And it's based in Cleveland. It's all about criminal justice reform. They spent a year in Cleveland with full access to the court system. So I said, just give me an idea of certain emotions you want hit. And you just start writing. And,
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Ben Gilbert has a question.
You have a question?
Yes. Yes, from the New York Times. Yes.
Don't say CNN.
Don't say,
What I'm always amazed with people who do, who are composers, is there's that thing of like this great, this awful, but if they know anything at all, it's like there's like kind of like they know scientifically, like if you want people sad, you have this note and these notes,
right.
And if you want people enthusiastic,
right,
you have this
specific keys.
What's the sad
tempos.
key? What they call the sad key?
Well, you know, I'm going to say D minor.
D minor,
is,
right?
The Spinal Tap thing. Have you seen Spinal Tap yet?
He still hasn't seen Spinal Tap.
Good. At this point, don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, D minor, D flat minor. Like there are certain keys, but it's funny. You've actually spoken about movie music a lot with the guests that have been on, and you say something that is really fucking important, actually. And I'm not sucking up. It's not my job to be featured. It's my job to bolster the story and say things that the actors can't say, but not lead the viewer. So it's really true that when you notice the music, unless you're supposed to, you're in trouble.
It's kind of
especially for something like
when
a podcast
you notice
or a
the music. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and you say, "Oh, what a great scene!" Or,
right.
"Boy, the dialogue is really witty."
Yeah.
And it's like so. Sometimes
you're taken out of it.
Music comes on and you go, "Okay, here's the music, telling me how to feel."
Yeah, and it's
we
not
talked
good.
about it. We had Giacchino on the show, Michael Giacchino, who's the
guy,
composer du jour,
and
we were talking about. I think what Gilbert's referring to is too much emotional manipulation.
Oh, it's the worst.
Overplaying the hand.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that example of a sitcom. My wife watches Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy has these little comic relief moments in the show, and the music always cues you to laugh.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm talking about?
I hate it. I worked on a sitcom all last year with Melissa McCarthy, and one of the key things about working on that is to do the opposite.
Do the opposite.
You never play funny. You never play comedy because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what the story ostensibly is meant to do. So if the music tries to be wacky,
it's almost quaint.
Fuck you.
On a sitcom. You watch a show like The Office and there's no music at all.
Well, and that's what I prefer, to be honest.
Well,
or the way Curb Your
a pseudo
Enthusiasm.
documentary.
Yeah, but or when I'm sorry, you go
there are some of these. There are some of these movies where if it's a comedy scene, it'll be bum bum and it's like, oh God, well,
Well, it's so cliche because I have a couple buddies that work a lot in comedy. They do a lot of sitcoms, like successful sitcom composers, and we always joke like, so which pizzicato violas and violin, they're like blum blum blum. Blum, 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 and it's just
But like you said, curb. I assume that's a bassoon or something, or a trombone. But it's used ironically.
Yeah, and it's also like I think he found that music. It's library music from Italy, and some of it was commercial music from Italy, used for TV commercials, and it's used to perfection. I actually, it's only like 5 pieces of music in the whole series, and it's never wrong. I think they always use it perfectly.
What do you think of our library music, the theme song for this
show?
I
love the music.
Is it aptly chosen?
Show. Yeah. You know what's funny? I
went through about 80 pieces of music before I settled on that
from
one.
your show, sometimes it shows up in other things, and I'm like, that's Gilbert.
Yes.
Gilbert and Frank's music, you fuckers.
Turned up on the Food Network.
Yeah, exactly. And I get pissed because I'm like, it's yours.
Because it's out there.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of this theme music? If we could get Frank.
Wait, I'm sorry, Frank. Are we bothering you?
Frank didn't mean to wake you.
The Hello There. Play the Hello There music, because.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have it dialed up.
Right. Oh, okay.
But you come from a musical family.
Yes.
Your dad was the legendary Grammy winner and record producer Joel Dorn.
Yeah.
And I did some research on your dad.
Oh, boy.
Well, fascinating. I found some really interesting YouTube videos.
Really?
About his life. Yeah, I will direct you to them.
Oh.
And he worked with Roberta Flack and Bette Midler and Donny Hathaway. Signed Bette Midler.
Discovered Bette Midler and worked with her on her very first record.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Charlie Fox song.
Oh, well, yeah.
Killing Me Softly. He worked with Roberta Flack. He produced that record?
Take me to your heart. Show me where to start. Let
Charlie
me
Fox again.
play the part.
No. It's as if I'm finally hearing the song.
Yeah.
Yes. I love this.
Your dad also worked with Lou Rawls, Dr. John, Peter Allen. Paul, did you know these names?
Smith.
Kate Smith.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Just a ton.
Charles Mingus.
Yep. Ton of stuff. Donny Hathaway. Just so many different artists.
And the movie
Peter Allen.
Yeah. The movie High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Indirectly references him.
Right. So in the film, if you remember, there was this thing of dream jobs, and dream job number 2 was literally Atlantic Records, staff producer, 1964 to 1973, and he's literally the only person that ever, that's him.
Wow.
So I'm watching the film, and I'm like, they're talking about my old man, because he made records that really, made the first Allman Brothers record.
Yeah.
So
Don McLean.
Don McLean.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Interesting
fella.
Interesting fella. I know a little bit about Don McCain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask Andy Breckman about Don McCain.
I will.
But this is interesting, too. Some symmetry. Your dad wrote a letter to Atlantic Records when he was 14?
Yeah.
Asking for a job?
He had ideas for songs that Ray Charles should do. So he wrote a letter to Ahmet Ertegun.
The great Ahmet Ertegun.
And actually, the Ertegun brother no one ever talks about was named Neswi Ertegun. And Neswi was responsible for the jazz and the sort of R&B side of Atlantic. So Ahmet wasn't very interested in this annoying Jewish kid from the suburbs of Philadelphia getting his letter. He gave it to his brother, and his brother called my dad.
How about that?
He literally called him, and then they started a correspondence. And by the age of, my father went to Temple University in Philly, and he was actually a pretty prominent radio personality. And you guys will love this. The radio station that he worked at, he was on the AM overnight, and on the FM overnight was Ed Bradley.
Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes.
And my father's sub was Peter Boyle, the actor. So this is the 3 guys hanging out at a radio station.
I knew that about Peter Boyle.
Yeah, Peter Boyle replaced my father. They were friends for life. So I knew Peter, they both died pretty close to each other, unfortunately. But
your dad passed in 2008?
2007.
2007.
And then, Peter, I think pretty soon thereafter. Yeah. But what
Did
a lovely
guy. Did you know he
guy.
had a DJ background, Peter Boyle?
No.
Yeah, big jazz fan.
Yeah,
huge
jazz guy. A very good friend of John Lennon's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Totally. And actually, funny, my father had some relationship. My father was friendly with John Lennon, tighter with George Harrison. I grew up with All this was like, it was like growing up in the dugout. Like it was like being Ken Griffey Jr. Except I wasn't in a dugout.
These
I was in a
people would be
recording
over
studio.
the house.
Marvin Hamlish was at my house one day, and he decided two things. Now, mind you, I'm like 8 years old, and I wasn't a musical or a musician at all, and I really couldn't give a shit. He was sitting at our out-of-tune piano writing a song about my mom. But the bad thing is my mom's name is Florence, so it doesn't really give itself over to music. So, Florence, she's working in the kitchen. She's working. And we were like, who the fuck is this guy? And you don't know when you're 8 years old who Marvin is a legend.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, he wanted me to teach him how to throw a curveball. He couldn't throw a baseball.
You were 8 and Marvin Hamlish asked you how to throw a...
Yeah, he was like, let's have a catch. I've always wanted, he was really on.
Yeah.
It was like Irving Cohen, the Martin Short character.
A bouncy C.
Yeah, give me a bouncy C.
Marvin Hamlish wrote the theme music to The Swimmer.
Yeah.
With Burt Landquist when he was like 20 something.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
Was he a prodigy?
Total prodigy.
Marvin Hamlish, he must have been.
And I think Bananas with Woody Allen.
Yes, he did. You're 100% right. And the thing is, what a hip guy in a way. Like, it took me a long time to really appreciate him. He had such a respect for a bygone era. He was from, it's like I could see him like he just was like, I want to be Sammy Kahn. You know what I mean? Like, who wanted to be Sammy Kahn in the late 60s? You know what I mean? Like,
well, Gilbert wanted to be Jessel.
Yeah.
He got his wish.
One bright and shining night. And who did we have here? The really top rock and roll guy.
Tommy James?
No.
Felix Cavalieri?
The producer. The producer.
Peter Asher.
No.
Oh my boy.
Jimmy Webb.
No.
Paul Williams?
Paul Williams. Paul Schaefer.
It's with a D. Bouncy D.
I don't know.
We'll edit this all out.
No, please don't.
Rock guy.
Ron Delsner.
Ron Delsner.
Well, he's a promoter.
He's a promoter. Don't point at me.
He's a promoter.
Wait.
Yeah.
Ron Delsner.
And here's the thing. My dad did.
This is very important.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because Ron Delsner helped produce the Groucho Marx
At Carnegie.
Right.
At Carnegie.
And New Hamlish.
Right.
And Ron Delsner said to me, and we just knew each other for like about half a minute at this point. He said, she used that woman he was with, that
Erin Fleming.
Erin Fleming, yeah.
She used to blow Groucho. And he goes,
And you tried to get him to say it on the show.
He wouldn't do it.
And he goes, and Marvin Hamlish had a shot at her too.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Wow. There's winning.
Here's a podcast connection to your dad.
What's that?
Rosanna Arquette. Oh, your dad was the music coordinator on the movie Baby It's You.
Yes, he was.
So there you go.
Yes, he was.
She
One of my
hugged me
favorite.
3 times.
I know.
Yes, okay.
As you've publicized.
Yes, okay.
Did you know Charlie Fox growing up?
A little bit. I got to know Charlie when I first moved to New York because he was still running around when there was real studios in New York. I worked at a place that was kind of a toilet, but it's more known for the first place Tupac got shot. It was called Quad.
Okay.
And Frank spent some time at Quad.
Okay.
And Charlie would still be running in and out of the studios, trying to get people to do songs and
He's
working
a
on
genius.
demos. Oh, total genius.
Not only first time ever, not first time ever.
No, Killing Me Softly.
but the Love Boat theme. And,
And
a
most
million pieces of music.
importantly, we're the king and queen of hearts. Hold me when the music starts.
Oh, yeah.
That was from Zach.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like dozens of people know
He won't
this song.
come. We've asked him to do this podcast.
He won't
We've
do
had
it.
4 people ask him. He won't do it because I think he's aware that Gilbert is going to sing
sing
Ready to
that-
Take a Chance again.
Which doesn't
Did
make
somebody
sense
send
to
him
me.
the video of you singing Ready to Take a Chance again?
I think so.
Down at Losers Lounge? He
Yes.
sang this live? I'll send you the video. Yeah. So it was
Yes.
sort of destined that you would go into music.
You
Absolutely.
remind me.
All right.
Cut it out. Now I know why Frank's song. All right. Wrap it up.
At what point did you decide this is kind of what I'm going to do? This is what I love.
Pretty early on. I
Yeah.
mean,
Did he encourage it?
No. Actually, my father produced a band called the Neville Brothers. Do you know the Neville Brothers from New
Yeah,
York?
of course.
And the person that actually really motivated me the most to be a musician pointed out to me the fact that I was rhythmic and musical. I'm sorry. Wait, I'm trying to. I remember him so much. I'm forgetting his name right now. No, it's Art Neville.
Yeah.
the organ player. He was also in a band called The Meters, which is like the funkiest band ever. And he'll murder me for forgetting his name briefly.
That's okay.
But Art, my father,
senior moment.
Yeah, totally. My father was working on their record, and they were playing mixes all the time, and I would keep time, and I would kind of listen and tap, and Art said to me when I was about 10, he was like, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're really musical, you're really rhythmic, you're going to be a musician. And it dawned on me at the age of 10, like, I better I'm not going to be a lawyer or an accountant. I can't ever fucking do something regular. I knew that. I was smart enough at that age. But yeah, Art Neville, I give him the props.
And like your dad, you sat down and wrote a letter.
Yes, I did.
At age 15.
Yeah, I wrote a letter to someone who's not really a household name, but is probably one of the most famous musicians, bass players, and producers, a guy named Marcus Miller. I wrote him a letter, and much like Nestle Erdogan, he called me. And within a year, I was in the studio with Marcus with Miles Davis.
Interesting.
I literally left high school to go and work with Miles Davis for about a year.
Both Adam and his dad wrote letters as teenagers.
Jeez.
And that's how our career started.
That's fascinating.
I mean, people knew who my father was, so I think it didn't hurt. But, so spending my senior year of high school, which would have been in high school, not in high school, but with Miles, was the best education you could possibly get.
What the hell was Miles Davis like?
He was amazing. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
I think of the way you talk about Jerry Lewis and saying, hey, because you hear all these notorious things about Miles Davis.
Yes.
And he was always nice to me. He was, what's that?
Like turning his back to the audience.
Yeah.
Famously.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of brilliant because he was like, just listen, don't look. Listen to what I'm playing. I thought that was kind of brilliant, but
he was nice to you.
Always told me stories and fostered my interest in going into music and definitely was like, you stay around the studio, you watch what we're doing, you learn.
Oh, nice.
This is your school. So I mean, how can you not?
Complicated man with a complicated life.
So is Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. Sure.
And he died young. He died in
65, same age as my father.
Yeah.
Actually, they both died at 65.
One thing we've spoken about before in the show, and that's the thing, like the unsung heroes, and that's the studio musicians.
Yeah.
Like, because so much that we remember of great music, it wasn't the group.
Did you see the Wrecking Crew documentary?
Yeah, of course.
It's wonderful.
And it's funny. My friend Adam Gorgoni, his father Al, played the guitar intro to Brown Eyed Girl. He's a studio musician. He's like, oh, hold on. Da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. And he's like, yeah, it was just a Wednesday. We were in the studio. I got $60. It was just another gig.
It's an iconic thing.
And it's just this iconic, and he played on hundreds of records. And
what's his name?
Al Gorgoni.
Al
He's a
Gorgoni.
great guy. Lovely guy.
Kind of like the way they have editors in movies, and they say sometimes what's great about the movie was what the editor did with it.
Absolutely. I mean, they're crafting the narrative, and they're putting everything together, and they don't really get that much credit.
So you're 15, you're hanging out with Miles Davis, Luther Vandross, David Sanborn.
Most Jewish 15-year-old kids.
And just
Hey, Luther.
what the hell was Luther Vandross
He was
like?
the best. Luther used to give me a ride.
What a giant.
He actually, along with Miles and obviously Marcus for fostering my education.
Yeah.
Luther was the best. He wrote my letter of recommendation to Berklee School of Music, and they rejected me because they thought it was a forgery.
Oh my God.
So he called them, and I was in the studio.
That's understandable.
And he was like, who do I need to speak to? This is ridiculous. I ended up going there, but Luther was the sweetest guy ever.
So this is what I want to ask you about too.
Uh-oh.
And Gilbert will appreciate this. Your music was used in a Deep Throat documentary?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, right? Now I woke up.
Now he's 24 minutes in.
Hello.
I got Gilbert's attention.
We're almost done.
Now I'm paying attention.
Deep. What was it called? Deep Inside Deep Throat.
Inside
Deep Throat. They used some songs of mine, and it's a great documentary actually.
How did you come to specialize in things like that? Because you do documentaries, would you say is
that's really my
your
lane
main
as a composer,
joint?
which is weird because it's not really a lane that most composers shoot for. But the way I look at it, it's like documentaries. They're telling stories that last forever, and they're telling real stories as opposed to like these. I would love to work on a big action Marvel tentpole kind of thing.
Sure.
But the reality is, it's like these current projects I'm on, like Robin Williams. a legend, an absolute, like, to work on something for Robin or Richard Pryor or, like, the Donald Trump series.
Well, you're working with that. We'll tell our listeners, too. You're working with the great Alex Gibney.
Yeah.
Who made Enron documentary and
the Scientology
and the wonderful HBO
Taxi from the Dark Side.
Taxi from the Dark Side, and that's a great guy to be working with.
Yeah, Alex is the best. And totally gives you freedom to do your thing, but like 5 hours of focus on Donald Trump.
It's a little much, for anybody.
And I know, Gil, you have some experiences with Donald.
Gilbert called him the Fuhrer.
Yes,
on The Apprentice.
So great.
You were telling me in the street when we took that cab the other night. You were telling me that the Pryor documentary there was something painful about it. There was something hard to.
Yeah, I mean, it was
hard to watch.
It's a sad story. I mean, Richard Pryor. It's funny. I think of the Robin and the Richard, and I think a lot of the difficulty is, Richard, his life was so difficult just to get to the start of his career. I mean, he was raised in a brothel.
Sure.
Substance
saw
abuse.
Terrible things as a kid.
Terrible things. And I mean, such an important guy. I mean, just a beautiful, important, but I think he also caused a lot of problems for himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
and was nice to you, Gil.
Oh, yeah. Very
you
nice.
Put him in the Miles Davis category.
Which movie were you in with him?
I didn't make it to the final cut.
That's right.
Which was just as a horrible movie.
Oh, right. That's right. The
Another You.
Yeah,
their last collaboration.
The last Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor.
So there's a scene in the documentary where he's on one of these talk shows, and the host says, so tell me about your movie. What's it about? And it was like one of those horrible movies.
Yeah.
And his answer was, it's about 2 hours too long.
Oh,
so
wow.
he knew. You know what I mean? Like, he knew he had a run of like 8 or 9 horrible films in a row, but to go out like that with Gene Wilder after that great shit they did.
Yeah, that was.
And by comparison, you said the Robin Williams documentary was more, despite the tragic ending, more of a celebration of life. And
really,
Whoopi's in it, and
Whoopi's in both.
Yeah, she's in both. She's in both of them. Yeah.
And I mean, the Robin is just. It's stunning.
What were you telling me about Zachary, his son? You were sitting next to him?
I was sitting next to Robin's son watching the film about his father's life for the first time. So,
that's
really
emotional. Had to be emotional.
And he's a really lovely guy. And he's like, sitting there and, you just, I don't know, you just think of your own father who passed, and they both passed very suddenly.
What did you say to him? Did you talk to him?
Did you
say?
Hug. I felt bad enough that I was like, I hope the music isn't manipulating you, making you cry more. You know what I mean? It's like all that shit where you're like, I hope you're not mad at me.
That's
fascinating.
That's something that I've seen in documentaries where they'll be talking about something really tragic, and sad music comes on, and you go, I think it's already tragic enough. We don't have
Hitler
to be
was
told.
dark. Yeah, we know.
Sometimes you're watching a dramatic film and the story is manipulating you, maybe even to the point of tears, and it's working on its own. And then the music comes in and starts to do it too, and it's unwelcome.
Yeah.
You almost want to say, I don't need the music. I'm already there.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming me now. Don't.
But those magical times when the music does also tug at your heart, it's pretty
it's
incredible.
Such a subtle thing to me.
It has to be, it has to be where you don't notice it.
Yeah.
Like it affects you.
Yeah.
But once you start to go, okay, here's the music.
So how do you know? I mean, you're just going on pure instinct. How do you know, okay, that's too far?
Yeah.
Do you try it out on people you trust?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, as a composer, I mean, I'm turning music into an editor and a director and ostensibly a couple producers. So they'll let you know, and the right directors, they'll have a sense of how they want to use music. Like on the Robin, there's a scene at the end where like the first couple passes of what I did, it was, I got notes like, all right, similar to what you were just saying, Gilbert, like, okay, we get it. There's a cello. It's sad. Cut it out,
take it out,
dial it back, But sometimes I got to say, just as like an empathetic feeling person, you're looking at something and you're like, I want to do this to it. So you get there eventually, but it's
trial and error.
Push and pull. It's definitely
you get the footage. You get the footage for the scene. You get the whole film.
You get the whole thing.
Yeah,
generally. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not composing piecemeal.
No.
You're watching the whole thing, and you're taking notes, and you're saying that, and you're writing down the emotion of what you feel. You heard Giacchino on our show, and he was talking about the scene in Up.
Yeah, come on, and that's
which I think came to him in the shower.
Yes, that's what he said, and I love that. And you know what?
He's
That's
such
true.
a freak.
No, but it's not. That stuff comes to you everywhere. Getting your car washed, you know what I mean? Like whatever, randomly ideas come up.
So they'll send you the completed Robin Williams documentary, and you lay it out in front of you, and you say, I know I need this here, and I need this here, and also you're writing music for pacing. I need to speed the story up here a little bit.
No, that's more of that's funny that you say that. That's more of a scripted, like, maybe stuff for episodic TV or like, feature films.
So give us an example of where you were challenged, say, on the Robin doc.
On the very last cue of the film, which I'm still not pleased with.
You're not?
Because it's kind of this montage that wraps up, everything. And I just feel like the music doesn't work.
Have you seen the documentary yet, Gilbert? The Robin Williams doc?
I saw the one on TV.
The HBO?
Yeah.
That's his music.
Oh.
That's his score.
Yeah, I thought that sucked. Yeah.
Boy, I didn't see that coming.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Wow, surprise.
That music just dragged it to the fucking gutter.
Which balding Jew wrote that music? Is it that Andy Dorn?
I apologize that I haven't seen it yet. But
you'll love it.
Yeah.
And if you saw the prior, though, I saw
the prior one.
And it's dark.
Yeah, very.
It's not uplifting.
Very, but I appreciated it. We were talking about Whoopi's mom's documentary,
I
too,
saw the Mom's Mabley doc. It was great.
She did a great job. Real labor of love.
Someone needs to make a Red Fox documentary.
It should be us.
Yeah, we're right. The three of us. But
with Bill Persky's Damon Wilson stories.
Yes, 30 minutes of just him. But did you guys ever heard? There's the famous Damon Wilson thing where he was holding out for salary thing, and a reporter asked Red Fox, how do you feel about like Damon Wilson holding out for more money? And he said, let me tell you something. This show can be Sanford and anybody, and it's just fucking spectacular. But yeah.
It would have been great. There's a story about, you just said, you told us too off mic that your dad knew Howard Kalin, former podcast guest.
They're pals. They cross paths.
A lovely man and a legend.
Yeah.
And a true original.
Yeah. Such a great episode.
Got high with Soupy Sales.
So here's who my father got high with.
Do tell.
So when he first started going to Atlantic and he was getting ready to work there, he was still living in Philly, commuting back and forth. And he goes to Atlantic Studios one night, which is up on 60th and Broadway. Dark room, still a kid. He's like 20. And a joint is getting passed around. And he's like, yeah, fine, I'm in. And the guy next to him hands him the joint. And in the glow of the joint, he realizes it's Mitch Miller. Sing along with Mitch. So imagine my father is thinking of his Zeta Jake and Bubba saying, hey, we're going to watch Mitch was singing. And he's getting stoned with Mitch Miller.
Of course.
He's
a musician.
Yeah. So he's getting stoned. But the greatest thing about Mitch Miller that I found out from John Dumanian told me the story. The legendary John Dumanian. Do we need to tell people who he is?
If you're a Woody Allen fan, you've seen John Dumanian in every Woody Allen movie.
Yeah, exactly.
The heavy set guy with a mustache.
The cocaine.
Sneezing the cocaine.
You know him. You've seen him in all of them.
So John Dumanian told me the story. The friend of his, this great jazz guy that used to work with Nat King Cole was Dick LaPalme was his name. He was taking Mitch Miller around the country on a promo tour, and he said Mitch Miller, and you'll love this, Gilbert, was the cheapest human being in the and this is my scurrilous TMZ
second
rumor.
cheapest.
No, this is it. This is late breaking TMZ news. Mitch Miller is the cheapest person in the history of the entertainment business, to the point where Dick LaPalme threw the following line. He said that Mitch Miller was so cheap he had a reach impediment. I just thought,
reach impediment.
Such a hip line. So you might be the second cheapest person ever. Mitch Miller, yeah. So.
Is there also? I heard from our mutual friend Eddie Portnoy.
Oh, is he?
Who wrote to me and he said Adam Dorn's going to be on.
I'll never be gifted a second mini episode, but it's not a short story
about Gene Simmons.
It's a spectacular.
We'll bring you back another time and you'll tell the Gene Simmons story.
But Quincy Jones is involved in the Gene Simmons story. He's the catalyst.
Now you're aware, of course.
No,
He doesn't
tell
listen.
me.
Yeah, let
I
me
don't
know.
know. I haven't
Let-
listened. I've missed a couple episodes.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
in on something. I've never had the courage to talk about this before.
I want to give you a safe space, Gilbert, a forum. Get it out.
Quincy Jones said Marlon Brando used to fuck Richard Pryor up the edge.
Do tell.
Really?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. We should make a documentary about
Riveting.
it.
Another documentary that Adam could
Yeah.
score.
Yes,
Film
I'm
at
a-
11.
Last question.
Yes,
you've
sir.
heard the musical guests on the show.
Oh man, you guys have had.
Did you have a
such great-
favorite?
Michael was really good.
Michael Giacchino.
I have to say,
Jimmy Webb was fun.
Jimmy Webb was fun. I really liked Felix Cavalieri
Cavalieri.
because I know
One of
all
my
the other
favorite
members
episodes.
of the band.
Yeah.
I know the Brigattis. Like
Yeah.
spent a lot of time with them.
We
he
love
was
Felix.
great. Paul Williams.
Yeah. We're gonna have
Yeah.
Paul back soon.
Paul's the best, and I work with Paul through the ASCAP stuff and the
Darling man.
advocacy. Paul's the best.
He is
Yeah.
a sweet soul,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have him back and do this again. And last question
Oh.
for Adam Dorn, the music expert: how is Gilbert singing? Seriously.
In the pantheon of the vocalists,
He's odd. Some musicians have written to me and say he's oddly on key.
he's oddly sitting in what is called odd meter. You have one of the worst senses of rhythm I've ever heard. That by the way, like they say,
doesn't
like,
practice the rhythm method.
In the stunt world, they say that like skiing badly on purpose is really difficult. You sing poorly in such a way that is almost it's genius bad singing.
What a great compliment.
Spectacular. You're the best bad singer in the history of Earth. Is that fair?
That is a fantastic compliment, Gilbert.
Yeah.
That's better than Adam
See?
West's compliment about the Penguin. Plugs, my man. The Robin Williams documentary.
Yes. Come inside my mind.
Come Inside My Mind. People should see the Richard Pryor documentary, too. And you're working with Alex Gibney now, and the series for Showtime is called?
Enemies, November 18th at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
is the premiere. It's a 4-part series.
You're busy?
And Serial,
And then
Serial.
there's the
season 3. Yes.
Richard Pryor documentary,
Yes.
Marlon Brando, Coming to My Ass.
Wow. That was a callback.
Let's end this meeting on a high note.
And that's why he's a
Yeah.
professional comedian.
Wow.
Adam, you flatter us. We're so thrilled you listen to the
Thanks.
show. This means a
Such
lot
huge
to us.
fan. It means a lot to me to be on, and I'm just
Thank you,
such
pal.
a huge fan.
So people can go to your website, too, and find
No
your
website.
No
Just-
website.
Yeah, just find me on Facebook.
Find
Adam
you
Dorn.
on
I
Facebook,
don't-
Adam Dorn. They can also buy your records.
Yes, Motion Worker Records.
Motion Worker.
Yes.
All right, pal. Thanks
Or at
for
a pizza store.
Yeah. We'll see you at the pizza store. We expect you to tell the Gene Simmons story.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
So, this has been Gilbert and Frank's amazing colossal obsessions with composer Adam Dorn.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.